Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and I continue with Call of Cthulhu blind. Now I'm here exploring the outskirts of the Hawkins manor, so let's continue with that. Hilltop house built in 1693 by Reverend John Wykewood. Oh, so it's very old. Well, very old by American standards, and quite new by European standards.
Bradley was right. This place is much older than I imagined, but the architecture seems too recent.
Well, maybe it isn't the original house. Maybe this is to commemorate the original house, but it was since, overbuilt. I laid me down and slept. I awakened, for the Lord sustained me. Okay, so that's a quote from the Bible, but I'm not sure how is that relevant. And I guess this is the cemetery with the graves of Sarah Hawkins, her husband, and their child. A great artist, a mother, and a true friend.
The flowers on Sarah Hawkins' grave are fresh.
Yeah, it's probably the... it's probably... well, not probably, it's almost obviously the groundskeeper, because even Bradley mentioned that he keeps the graves, you know.
Charles Hawkins' grave. Who could have done this?
Interesting, so... apparently someone must not like him. So I assume it's the groundskeeper who keeps all of the graves, and he would have put the flowers here first for Charles as well, but then somebody else vandalized it, because obviously it doesn't make sense for him to first put the vases here and then break them himself, destroying his own work. And this is Simon, the son. Unfortunately, I can't really read what's written on the graves because it's blocked by the vases. There's nothing on this one though.
Poor kid.
Okay, anything else here? Doesn't really look like it, although those are interesting, like pillars. It's almost obelisk-like. I wonder what's the function of it. They can't go any further down here, so it's not to mark a path or anything. It's a weird ray of, I assume, moonlight. It's just so weirdly disconnected from everything else around it. It almost looks like it's, frozen in this single place, because it doesn't even really change depending on my position.
I'll have to find another entrance.
Yeah, it's pretty dilapidated. But doesn't exactly seem burnt down. It looks more in the state of disrepair, but not necessarily actually destroyed. I guess I'll see how it looks inside once I get in there.
This entrance is still in use.
Whoa!
Whoa!
You are trying to force the door, you nosy prick!
Easy, sir, all right? Put down the axe.
You know what we do with rubble like you? We gut them. Dump them into the ocean.
Whoa! You're Mr. Winchester. Lower that axe. Let's talk calmly.
I'll show you how we have it out on Darkwater.
Oh,
You haven't forgiven yourself.
time limit, I think.
You stay here to honor the memory of the deceased.
That's true. I want no more violence. No more tragedy.
It's painful to be the last one left.
You don't know how right you are. Understood. I'm listening.
The police report describes a domestic accident, but Stephen Webster has several reasons to believe that this may not be the case.
Webster is as stubborn as an old mule. And I did tell him that we should let the dead rest in peace.
He wants to restore the reputation of his daughter. I just need to see where the fire started.
No, I can't let you in. The mansion isn't safe.
That's why you barricaded the entrance.
That's right.
And this door?
It's locked, and I make sure it stays that way.
Why shouldn't he need the key? Even if he is there... does Pierce mean that if the place is dangerous, why is he going inside? Because even if he was like the groundskeeper, he would probably have a separate key, something. Or if not, then that's even more of a reason for him to need a key now, because if back in the day he only could enter the house after he was let in, then obviously he would need a key now. So I don't quite understand that, but I'll use it because it's an investigation option and I'm curious what Pierce will say.
No one lives in the mansion, and you don't take care of it anymore. If you have a good reason to be here, I'm listening.
There's vermin. I keep an eye out.
Vermin.
Yeah, that's it, vermin.
Right. This is what we're going to do. I go inside, and I promise that I'll hunt vermin. Okay with you?
I'm not sure.
If there's nothing else to fear, you can give me that key.
Right. Take the key and do what you have to do. Go on then, just to get rid of you.
Let's see what more I can learn from this mansion.
Oh, and this is Bradley coming back. He did specify
What
that
now?
that he doesn't want me to go inside without him.
Do you have a moment?
What now?
Nothing. Sorry.
Stop wasting my time.
Okay, that was kind of pointless. I was just wondering, maybe there was a new dialogue, you know, if you talk to him a second time. Are they going to talk together? Or is he just leaving? Well, I guess he's leaving. But before I talk with Bradley and go inside, there is still this part of the gardens that I want to check. Specifically, I want to check...
This gate is locked.
I want to check the groundskeeper's hut, because there might be something interesting in there.
The poor wretch seems to spend the best part of his time isolated from the world. I know a thing or two about solitude myself.
So he's a drinker as well.
Rather Spartan. The caretaker has simple tastes.
Okay, there's even... There is no padlock on the door, so I can't even attempt to break the lock.
Bourbon. Empty, of course.
Maybe there's a way through here. Not quite sure what that accomplished, because I still can't enter through the window, and it's not like I can see anything particularly profound here. There's like a bunch of harpoons, a lantern. This is probably part of a bed, right? And some more alcohol. Like, I'm not sure what was the point of opening this, but oh well. But I still like how the lighthouse looks in the distance. I really think it's a nice visual point of reference when you're looking into the horizon. Okay, so I think I'm finally ready to enter the mansion itself, alongside Bradley, because it seems he wants to go in with me, which is exactly what he said.
Pierce, shall we enter? Now that you've finished your fun and games with Silas, we can perhaps inspect the mansion.
You're right. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's take a look inside.
I'm coming with you. There's no way I'll leave you alone in there without a watchful eye.
So, Chapter 3, Hawkins Mansion. Price and Officer Bradley explored the gardens of the Hawkins Mansion. The family lies in the graveyard of the property, guarded by Silas Winchester. The old caretaker, still faithful to his employers, keeps watch over the place, armed with an axe. Pierce and Bradley managed to calm him down and finally got hold of the key to the Hawkins Mansion. They entered the building, looking for the scene of the fire.
Follow me. I know the place. Who left this light on?
Okay, this is interesting, because his lantern is like obviously orange in color. His light looks like a regular light, but this, for example, and most of the other lights in the game are like obviously strikingly green, and the contrast just became apparent to me when I was looking at him and comparing it to the lanterns over here. So that's kind of suspicious to me. But before I follow him, some dead roses. This is the same painting that was in Pierce's, in Fitzroy's, the captain's harbor, what is it called? Harbor Masters something? Well, whatever, in the port. I think this is pretty well-known painting, but I can't... I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere before, but I can't like pinpoint it in my head. But anyway, there's like some kind of a sea creature at the bottom here. A boat in a storm. People looking over the sea. There's just like a clear maritime motif to most of the paintings, which obviously makes total sense because this whole community is based around. Okay, it's another painting by Sarah Hawkins, and again, this one is also kind of more disturbing than the original one, because you have this dark spot and then you have what I believe are tentacles coming out of it, or at least maybe it's a chair, but it looks, if it is a chair or some kind of piece of furniture, and it's even better because it's so shrouded in darkness that your mind sort of twists it, because it might be actually legs, legs of a chair or something, but your mind twists it and you have this strange shape coming out of the darkness, but I can't interact with it, at least not yet.
The Last Supper of the Hawkins. What does this tell me?
Wait, so this groundskeeper guy is full of baloney. Like, he said he's, watching over the place, and clearly he does visit the insides of the mansion, at least from time to time, because he got all defensive when I asked about the key, and yet he didn't, in the couple of months since their death, he didn't even clean like the meat of their plates. There's mold on the food because it's old, so it's kind of embarrassing for him, really. I assume that's Sarah Hawkins with her son.
Sarah Hawkins painted herself with her son, Simon, ready to go somewhere, but without Charles.
Interesting. So it points at some kind of a trouble in the relationship, maybe? If she wanted to leave with her son, but not with her husband. I'm just checking if this version of the room has any unique interactions before I enter the actual reconstruction mode. Okay, can't comment on the painting.
This roast. What strange creature has flesh like this?
That's a good question. Because, whoa, it's like a head of an octopus or something? Obviously, it's something vaguely cephalopodic.
This place is for the head of the family, Charles Hawkins. The boy was probably here, smashed his plate on the floor.
Ah, there's even a toy here to signify that's where the kid was sitting.
Sarah Hawkins' plate. Why did she leave it untouched?
Well, maybe...
Something happened at this table. An argument?
Yeah, maybe the argument was about them, her and him, the kid, not wanting to eat this strange octopus meat because it might have been tainted or something. Maybe it's connected to the miraculous catch that they mentioned in the paper.
Hey, Pierce. Daydreaming again?
Working, officer. This dinner table tells us a lot about the Hawkins family life.
Well, we don't have all day. The scene of the fire is next door.
Damn it, I didn't take the opportunity to look at the paintings here. They would have been better visible in the vision.
Silas managed to bring the fire under control, but it was already too late.
Let's see if I can find something the cops missed.
Okay, but I wanted to go into here the bit of dialogue, but I was too slow. Before I go in there, I want to check if there's anything else, maybe? Around here?
Was Charles Hawkins some kind of explorer?
An explorer in front of exotic ruins. Is it common knowledge that he wasted away his fortune on expensive... It is common knowledge, it's not a question. It is common knowledge that he wasted away his fortune on expensive trips. What was he looking for? as I'm going to find out eventually.
Too much rubble. I'll find an easier way. Charles and Sarah's wedding is painted by Sarah herself.
They don't exactly look happy to me. Which might be a bit of a clue in and of itself. Okay, I don't think I can interact with anything in the present, so let's go into the detective vision mode.
Was Charles Hawkins a heavy drinker?
Oh, it seems there are a lot of characters.
The child's corpse left a trace. Where are the others?
So
They had a fight. Why? Did it stop at the time of the fire?
maybe the others actually survived, because Charles Hawkins was mentioned on the blackboard in the tavern as being a debtor, even though it has been months since his death. So if he was really dead, then, you know, why would they hope to get their money back anytime soon? You know, you can't exactly take money from dead people. I mean, you technically can, but not in a way that's relevant to this case. Okay, there's something else, because there's an icon.
Did Sarah Hawkins lose one of her shoes? How?
Maybe when fleeing from the scene, because the existence of this outline and the comment by Pierce saying that it's the only one seems to suggest that both of them... Wait. That isn't... Is that also her? Yeah, right. Because she has the same bracelet. It's weird how... Well, I guess it isn't that weird, because he exists in two different places in this memory as well. It's just weird here because I can see them, you know, both versions of her in one frame. But the game seems to tell me that I found everything. Oh, no.
If the painting I found on the docks really came from here, how come it didn't burn?
I don't know. But the game seems to tell me that I found everything, so let's... Wait, did I? Okay, that's weird, because I can't leave, and now I notice this flashing up. So the game is straight up lying to me.
Did someone escape the fire?
Yeah, I would imagine both of them, maybe? But then, if she is alive, why didn't she at least contact her father to make him stop the investigation?
Blood. This lamp was thrown. This was no accident. This was a fight. Someone fell here. A desperate attempt to flee. And the boy.
So, Detective, what do you make of it?
Okay, this is a little bit too antagonistic. I would say this.
Much of this evidence simply contradicts the investigation's findings.
Really? Tell me about it.
I was under the impression the fire started around midnight.
Yes, Silas banged on our door around 1 a.m. Poor devil ran so hard he was almost belching his lungs out.
This clock burned before 10 p.m.
That's impossible. What you imply? Silas never would have hurt the Hawkins family. Besides, Dr. Fuller confirmed the hour of death in his report. Your clock must have already have stopped.
I guess so, it could, but who's the doctor?
Dr. Fuller?
A brilliant surgeon, and a friend of the family. I'm sure he took the matter to heart. So, excuse me if I value his opinion over yours.
So be it. Let's move on. I can tell where young Simon was, but not his parents. Where were their bodies found?
I can't help you on that one. Charles and Sarah's bodies had already been carried away when I got here.
Without your authorization? By whom?
Marshall, Andrews, Chief West. We never deal with cases like that, you know. So... well...
Okay, this is instantly suspicious to me, because why would they move the other bodies but leave the child's body here? To me, it again points to the fact that they probably both survived. And it's only the kid that has died.
It would seem at least one person fled the crime scene.
What'd you say?
That mark on the door. Someone's hand slid down there. The left side has no mark. The door was open and that someone left.
For God's sake. I mean, if it's Charles or Sarah, they wouldn't have left their son.
They would rather die in the flames as a family instead of calling for help? I don't buy it.
Oh, yeah?
I found a bottle of whiskey. Empty.
Well, that must have been a loss for you.
No glass. I suspect one of them drank heavily to calm down. Charles, most probably.
That's pretty thin. Who says that bottle hadn't been there for a while?
Fire was caused by a lamp. Okay, this is less accusative than straight up, because this is paramount to saying that it was either Charles or Sarah that started the fire. Although, I guess it could mean it wasn't just an accident in a sense. Not in a sense that it did it deliberately, but in a sense that it wasn't an accident that wasn't influenced by anything else. What I mean to say is that it was an accident, but it wasn't just an accident because it was coupled with a fight, and it happened as a result of that fight. But still, I guess I'll go with this.
I suspect this lamp caused the fire.
Wait.
That's what the investigation suggested, too.
But does your report mention the bloodstains? The lamp didn't fall, it was thrown at someone.
For heaven's sakes, no. The report doesn't mention that.
Okay, I guess my previous discussion was pointless because I'm still forced to click that.
I firmly believe this fire was more than just an accident.
Huh. What's your theory?
Well, that they had a fight is pretty apparent from the clues. The rest is, risky proposition to say that it was deliberate. Maybe it was, but what I'm saying is the evidence isn't directly pointing at it.
I think the Hawkins couple got into a fight.
You sure of that?
There's only one way to be sure.
Okay, so this is the other part.
I just ask that you don't disturb anything. If Chief West found out about what we're doing, I'd be in serious trouble.
Okay, I'll let him go away for a bit, because I want to... There's something banging on the other side of the door?
This door is locked.
I want to investigate this bit before I proceed further. History of medicine in the 18th century. This collection of medical knowledge and health practices in the 18th century actually only covers the so-called civilized countries. It does not deal with the influence of holistic medicines or medicines from continents considered inferior. I wonder if this is a subtle jab at the fact that Lovecraft himself was a massive racist, even for the standards of his time, and he would be like he would be perfectly okay with excluding the scientific findings of other cultures than just the Western culture, the culture of the West, because he would indeed consider them inferior, and he did, in fact. Which I guess most of the people did in one way or the other back then, but most of them weren't so overt as Lovecraft was, because Lovecraft was so racist that from today's perspective, it's actually kind of hilarious. Like, when you read some of his short stories, it's kind of hilarious to me that some of his worst fears had to do with miscegenation and the mixing of the races. So to him, to a regular person, a horror, a tragedy would be something, an ancient abomination rising up to destroy us or whatever. And obviously that does feature heavily in Lovecraft's stories as well. But to Lovecraft, there was literally a story in which the big source of horror was this vision that the protagonist had of the future of New York. And the future of New York was basically that it was full of immigrants that didn't speak English and were Chinese or something. So they had Oriental, facial features. And to Lovecraft, this was so horrible that it warranted writing a whole story around it. Around this horrible future that we must avoid of, heavens forbid, people from other continents or other countries or other races coming in and living in our city or something.
These bandages are covered in dried blood. But whose?
There were bloody bandages in the warehouse as well, so I would presume they are connected. The icon is telling me that I have some things to find here.
The lyrics of the drunken sailor, a sea shanty.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what's the point in that.
This door is blocked from the outside.
A crowbar. Probably belongs to the caretaker, Silas.
A crowbar. Could prove useful.
Indeed it could. I guess it's all for now, because the icon shows me. Although the icon has already lied.
The lyrics of the drunken sailor, a sea shanty.
The lyrics, the icon has already lied at least once in the past, so I'm not sure if I trust it entirely. this
An
point.
original edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, dated 1818.
Anything to say?
What do you know about Charles Hawkins' activities?
Well, not much, to be honest. We all assumed the Hawkins lived on Charles's inheritance.
Okay, that's a really cool library. In general, that's a really cool room. You know, it's very large, and the collection of books is pretty impressive, especially back in the day. But even now, you know, I'd love to have such a large library. Doesn't look like I can click on anything on the shelves, but there is a book here.
Moby Dick, Melville's classic. The epic battle between man and whale.
A classic, especially for a family of ship owners. Yeah, I was about to comment that such a book...
Mandatory reading for any whaler, I guess.
Yeah, right. My point exactly.
This piano is in disrepair. Looks like the Hawkins kept it more for decoration than for music.
Okay. It's an interesting bust. Because the hairstyle is kind of weird. Like it almost looks like something called Osewedet, which was like a hairstyle. It's a little bit too long, but the general point of shaving half of your head and then letting the other part of the hair go out onto the other side of the head, it's reminiscent of a style of a hairstyle of Cossacks, at least some of them. Not sure why I thought about that. But
This place was falling apart long before the fire.
again, this is kind of creepy with just the way his eyes are sort of... He looks like transfixed by something. He looks like he's very intensely staring at something. Oh. Guess that was just a lightning strike from behind the windows, but it looked weird over here. It flashed on something and I thought for a second there's something underneath this table, but I don't think there is.
A book on the first inhabitants of the island. It seems they got here around the 14th century.
Wait, but who would that have been? 14th century? That's before... Because, again, I am kind of confused. I guess it must be Native Americans, right? I'm not sure how far off the coast of the continental United States this is, but... Because obviously 14th century is before Europeans, before Columbus and then the others reached the Americas. So, Human Body, a comparative analysis, precise and very detailed treatise on the particularities of the human body compared to the animal world. The simplicity of its writing and the vulgarization of vocabulary make it accessible to the profane. I'm kind of confused on the question of original settlers of this place. It's weird that Pierce isn't commenting on this painting. Okay, nothing else to investigate here. Look how green this is and how smoky it is. Like, it's weird to me, especially now that I have like compared it directly with how Officer Bradley's lantern looks.
Darkwater history. This place was settled back in 1692 by two families that seceded from the New England colonies.
Yeah, that's even more confusing. Because it says
Darkwater history.
yeah, settled.
This place was settled back in 1692
Oh, I didn't see
by
this
two
painting
families that seceded from the New England colonies.
before. Quite interesting. But it says settled in 1692, which is, entirely reasonable. But then
A book on the first
inhabitants, so it was already
They got
settled.
here
Like,
around the 14th century.
I don't understand that. Like, what's the distinction there?
A book on hunting whales, the island's staple diet last century. There's something disturbing about this painting.
Well, thank you for your expert analysis. Isn't that disturbing to me? To be honest, if this is a real skull from an actual person, which I imagine at this time it must be, because how they, like, what materials would they even use to manufacture a fake skull, then that is kind of more disturbing than this, knowing that this once belongs to an actual human and you're not now holding in your hands the remnants of his earthly body after his demise.
20,000 leagues under the sea. Another story about the mysteries of the deep.
That's kind of thematic for a Cthulhu game. Another crowbar? Why would they need so many crowbars? Kind of weird in and of itself. Okay, I think I've explored everything here. So let's continue.
What could Sarah have done to make this person threaten to call the police?
Dear Sir, as you know, I have always held you and your family in high respect. Unfortunately, I can no longer continue to close my eyes on the behavior of your wife. Last week, again, she terrified my clientele. I know that she means no harm, but you should place her in the care of Dr. Fuller. He alone seems to be able to come to her senses. If these disturbances recur, believe me that, though it would feel like torture, would be obliged to involve the police. Anton Wellard. So I guess she was frightening them with, like, her visions and stuff. That's kind of a cool painting as well. Is it painting of the port of Darkwater or something? Interesting that I can't enter this room, even though it would be very easy to... Why did he close it? Did I run out of lighter fuel, or... Even though it would be very easy to push it aside. Actually, it kind of irritates me. Are those claw marks? It very much looks like claw marks, which is a little worrisome, if you ask me. Apparently there's something to be found here. Paint. A key that opens the door to Sarah Hawkins' office was concealed. Okay. Well, this episode has been long enough, so as is tradition, I'm going to now look through the journal, and if you're not interested in that, you can just skip the rest. So, let's read the last paragraph here in the gardens because it's new. Old Silas Winchester haunts the property of his old masters, ready to use his axe on the first person he meets. He'd have chased me off or cut me to pieces if I hadn't been able to calm him down. Nevertheless, I did manage to convince him to give me the key to the tradesman's entrance. And now, this chapter. Hawkins Manor. In this entrance hall of the mansion, a lighted lamp seems to be waiting for us, and the old caretaker who thinks he can stop people from entering. I must find the place where the Hawkins family died. En route, I'll pick up as much information as I can on their life. The dining room had remained untouched since the night of the fire. It had taught me something about the relationship Charles and Sarah Hawkins, about the relations in the couple. It seems that an argument broke out on that night of the drama. In the partly burned out drawing room, the fire has perhaps left a few clues that has escaped the local cops. Even Officer Bradley was forced to admit it. This room tells a far different story to the police report. The presence of blood on the shards of glass from the lamp, the mark of a hand left on the door by someone fleeing the fire. We are in a crime scene. I must continue searching the mansion to look for information on the life and death of the Hawkins family. Okay, so what's new on Pierce? Okay, so I'll upgrade this to level 3, and then I guess I'll upgrade Spot Hidden, because to be honest, it seems like possibly the most important skill overall in the game, because it literally makes new items appear. Like if you don't have this skill high enough, certain items will not appear in the game at all, which seems, like a huge deal to me. Okay, there's nothing new on the Sanity front. Darkwater. Silas Winchester, caretaker of the Hawkins property. The old caretaker still watches over the family graveyard and the burned-out mansion. Devoted to Charles Hawkins, whom he all but raised, he also has great respect for the memory of Sarah Hawkins and their child Simon. His long months of solitude in the abandoned property made him very distrustful. Still puts flowers on the graves of Charles, Sarah and Simon. Yeah, but Charles's grave was vandalized by someone else, I assume. Now, the regular items. Wait. No, the regular items have the same description that they did when I first looked at them. Yeah, much as this has, but those are like summaries, so those are new. The Last Supper. Since the fire in the Hawkins mansion, the dining room has remained intact. Yeah, this is also kind of weird. The setting allows the places occupied by the family members to be determined. Visibly, etiquette was respected even in private. Charles Hawkins sat at the head of a table with wife and son on either side. The knocked over chair could be due to something that happened after the fire, or it could confirm the theory of a domestic argument. Clearly, the roast was untouched in certain plates. The meat, mysteriously preserved since then, seems to have been subject of dispute between the Hawkins couple. Was it mysteriously preserved? Well, I guess you could, because I very clearly saw mold on it, but then, if it had been months since the fire, then I guess it's pretty well preserved, even if there's a bit of mold on it, after 3 months. And there is also this, the scene of the fire. Contradicting the police report, the Hawkins drawing room tells a totally different version of the fire that claimed the whole family. beginning with the presence of a handprint that throws up the possibility of a survivor. The bodies of Charles and Sarah left no mark on the floor, nor to that matter in the drawing room, contrary to that of the child, still visible close to the fireplace. The same goes for the glass shards on the floor. A close inspection reveals the presence of blood on several of them. On the wall, a very clear mark left by the painting found in the Hawkins warehouse confirms that the Hawkins case would be much more than a domestic accident. And there is the inventory, which is nothing interesting because there's just a key, crowbar, and another key. And this is just the books that I picked up, which also have the same description that they do when I'm picking them up, so not much point in reading them again. And with that, that's actually all for this episode, so I'm going to end it here. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.